would you say that there's been more, positivity, like from Rec Week and from us attending that event? Do you reckon there feels like there's more, happy, like joy in our communities at the moment?
There has definitely been obviously there's been a negative shift since the referendum. But I think that the good is definitely outweighing those few. There's a big few, but the good's outweighing those few racists and negativity. And I think that's something that we really have to focus on in order to stay sane in this time. And I think that it feels more positive, and it feels more the process feels I'm a bit more trustworthy of this process.
Hey guys, welcome to another SBSS podcast. Today we have a special guest joining us, making her first podcast appearance. We have Ruby. Ruby is one of our staff at Strong Brother, Strong Sister. And today we're going to be covering a bunch of different topics, some that are relevant, and then we'll do a little bit of a deep dive to get to know Ruby a little bit more as well. So first I'll say welcome and hello to Ruby.
Thank you for having me on.
All good. Maybe we'll start with just getting you to just introduce yourself, a little bit about your role at Strong Brother, and just a little bit more for everyone to get to know you.
Yeah, cool. So yes, my name is Ruby Evans. I'm a proud Yorta Yorta woman, but have grown up on Wadawurrung country my whole life. I'm the lead female mentor at Strong Brother, Strong Sister. I wear a few different hats, not officially, but I focus on mentoring Aboriginal young women and help out with groups, help out with school groups. I plan a lot of programs to put in place for our young people, especially focusing on young women in community. I guess that's a big passion of mine, working with young females throughout their journey, navigating through life. It's from being a young female myself, it's really crucial to have that support. So that's something that I'm really passionate about. But yeah, I really love getting out in country, especially down here. We have beautiful bush, we have beautiful ocean. So yeah.
Yeah, easy. Thanks for telling everyone a little bit about you. So today, we're going to be talking about a couple of relevant topics that have, happened over the last couple of months, but also this month and next month. And so I thought we might start off with Reconciliation Week. That was, not too long ago. And maybe I'll just start off with what your opinion and thoughts are on what Reconciliation Week means to you.
I guess growing up, I didn't actually really know what Rec Week really signified. I think I went to all Rec in the Park, and it was a great community day for me without understanding truly what it meant. I guess it could mean different things to different people, but for me it's, Australia recognising the past and reconciling with Indigenous people for the future, and reconciling with the communities, reconciling with us, our people, and I guess that's kind of a brief of what it kind of means to me. But that's a broad look into it.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree. I think, you've kind of nailed it there. It's, about, non-Indigenous people reconciling with the past, in particular, the colonial past that has caused a lot of hurt and pain and suffering on our people. And so, I think it's a good opportunity for non-Indigenous people to, walk, that path and be involved in whether it's truth-telling events, whether it's, culture, whether it's connecting with the local community. I think it's just a great space for that. And I think each year, I think in the past, the thing about it is it seemed to be, a lot of responsibility fell onto Indigenous people to, run the days or run events and, run morning teas or different things like that. But I think as we push forward, I think, those spaces could be led by non-Indigenous people and, for them to take some ownership over that week and that day, because when you look at the meaning of it, like you said, it is about reconciliation, reconciling. And so I think, it could be led more by non-Indigenous people. And I think we've started to see a little bit of that so far. What do you think?
Yeah, I think for the first time in a few years, we actually were able to take a step back and not worry about running something and planning these events space and just actually attending and enjoying it as people, which was nice because, I guess a lot of the responsibility on our people, as we see still happening today, is like, oh, you're Aboriginal, you'll do the acknowledgement of country, and things like that. I think there's a big movement in that ally space, which I think is really, really, it's a good day for that to happen, because they're reconciling the hurt that the non-Indigenous population kind of inflicted on Indigenous people.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think like even from, I guess, the past, you've done a few different events where you've spoken at or attended to, and I guess, your role was to play a pretty big role in terms of what that day was or, different things like that. But like you said, this was probably one of the first years to be able to, there was a bunch of different orgs that we work with and, mainstream orgs that we were able to attend their events and see the great work that they're doing in that space. And see some of the, initiatives, not only for Rec Week that they're doing, but for NAIDOC and, whether that's treaty and some of the other exciting things in the space as well. But I think, I think just briefly, just wanted to touch over Rec Week because I think it still has a very important part to play, especially, following on referendum and coming into treaty now. I think it's that great opportunity for, truth telling as well. I think, I think that's a really good segue to talk about an event that we both attended a week ago.
Yeah, I'd say a week, yeah.
We were lucky enough to attend the
Walk for Truth.
The Walk for Truth. Which, if anyone doesn't know about it, we might give a little brief intro. So the Walk for Truth was by Travis Lovett, who walked over 500 kilometers, and he started his journey in Portland on his home country and walked all the way to Parliament. And the idea behind that was Parliament in Victoria has made a lot of decisions impacting First Nations people and their futures. And so, even when we do, when we have protests or, when we have anything, Parliament House is, I guess, that gathering space for where we gather and we protest and, we ask for change in a lot of different ways as well. So, overall it was 500 kilometers and 24-day journey. And I think what was really special about it as well is he invited each community, especially the non-Indigenous people, to join him on those different legs of his of his walk. So as the walk went on, he was able to gain more and more support from each community that he walked through. Along the way, also meeting with traditional owners and receiving message sticks from them, which then he was to deliver to the Premier once he got to Parliament in Victoria. And so, yeah, we were lucky enough to attend the last leg, which had 11,000 people there, which was massive. Do you want to just give, I guess, a quick little insight of, what, attending meant, and even when you first walked up and saw that there was 11,000 people there in a support of, the Walk for Truth?
Yeah, I was kind of taken aback. I was extremely nervous to head into that Parliament space. I've always been on the outside of it, protesting and doing our marches. So it was really great to see that, like you said, 11,000 people turn up and in support of this movement and where we're hoping to go as a state. Walking into, I guess, Parliament House, we got a tour, which was really great. And it was really, it's a very beautiful place. But it was a weird feeling having been in quite a colonial space. But being in that space with that, I guess, what Travis Lovett is doing in that space, I think it was really moving. It was kind of it was a weird feeling for me, being in that space, being surrounded by premiers and past premiers and people that I would never expect in my life to show up for something like this. But I think that it was an exciting feeling, knowing that in the next, hopefully, year, we will see that first treaty, that first acknowledgement for our people, and that acknowledging that hard work that our people have done for so many years, finally come to play and be acknowledged in Parliament House.
Yeah. No, that's great. A follow-up question as well. What was the feeling? I guess you've touched on that. There was some, I guess, it felt a little bit colonial, especially with, the Queen statue just there as well. But
overlooking us all.
Yeah. But what about was there like in a sense of, I guess, achievement or like, oh, wow, like, this colonial space is taken up by, a lot of Indigenous people, and we're kind of making it, our space for that, point in time. I think there was like, a lot of joy in the room as well. And just to kind of touch on the Walk for Truth, was to bring, it's part of URUC, which is the Justice Commission, which is also a part of treaty. So all these things are interconnected.
Sorry, I should have mentioned that.
No. It's like, when you get into these spaces, I guess there's a lot of different arms that do different things, and it can be confusing for all of us as well, even as like community members, especially at the start, I think, when learning about all these different things. But the URUC Justice Commission is the first formal truth-telling process into historical and ongoing injustices experienced by First People in Victoria. So it's going to be the creation of an official public record with first-hand like stories from those that were impacted by, colonization, the stolen generations, incarceration. And so, it's going to be, the first official public record where we've, I guess, got our, opportunity to tell the truth. So the walk was in, support of the Justice Commission. And the Justice Commission is a branch of treaty, which has been a hot topic for and has been, I guess at the center point of all this for a number of years, I think since 2019. And so, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the day. So, it was 11,000 people out the front of Parliament House. We were lucky enough to be invited by Christine Cousins into Parliament House, which is where they had the official handing over of the message sticks, and the Premier received them. And then we were lucky enough to, spend some time with Christine Cousins as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we did the rest of the day? And I guess we kind of made a little bit of a day of it as well.
Yeah, no. So we got to go into the gallery after that meeting, and we went down into the gallery, and I guess we got to witness it was question time. Question time, which was wild. It was an experience and a half. Just seeing it in the flesh, how I guess politicians question each other on what they're delivering. And I think it was actually I guess I was taken aback at how these officials were probably speaking to each other in such a professional space. I couldn't imagine doing that. But it was really empowering, I guess, to be invited to that space by Christine and feel safe to be in that space. And I guess see how decisions are made for our state was completely shocking. Like that's I guess one way to put it. But then after a story time, not story time, question time, we went back, and for me it was really bizarre to see all the oppositions interact with each other after that that experience in the gallery, but also empowering to be invited and be supported in a space like that. I hope to do it again, despite it probably being a really loud space. But and then afterwards, I guess we had some lunch, and we made a day out of it, which was really nice because we started with this beautiful, wholesome event. And then for me, I think seeing like the exchange of the message sticks and the traditional owners talking about the story behind each of the message sticks and giving them to the Premier was really, really touching. And I think it was a really welcoming space, despite it being in Parliament and surrounded by pretty high up there people. But I think the whole day experience was a really weird feeling for me. Yeah. Like 1 minute it was really empowering. Well, a lot of the time I felt really empowered and really excited for the future, and can see that we're starting to be, I guess, recognised, and that past is starting to be recognised a lot more, and the current is also being recognised. But then I guess I'd be hit with like the reality of like, oh, I'm standing in Parliament House surrounded by people that literally do not acknowledge you as like human beings and don't want you to like have opportunities to thrive. And, like I think that would hit me at times and be like, oh, am I safe?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's interesting, like, I guess speaking back to about Christine, she's done great work, not only with us in Geelong in terms of, Strong Brother, Strong Sister and Murrin and Narramilli, but also in terms of treaty, one of the, I guess, the leaders of treaty as an MP, and really highly respected and regarded in our community. And I guess like you said, question time was interesting to see how they interact with each other. But I guess it's good knowing that there are people like Christine in there that are working to move things forward and get things done, and really have our back in a space like that, especially I guess going back to, so URUC is the Justice Commission, and treaty is that is the end goal, and that started in, I think it was 2019, and it's basically a treaty is it's a document or a piece of paper that's going to be signed by the First Peoples Assembly and the government, and it'll be what's in it is still being worked out. But I guess the process is that there are members from all over Victoria that have been elected locally, and they represent their communities, and go to each community and gather their insights to what they want to see in treaty and what treaty means for them. And obviously, one of the important things was truth telling, and that's where URUC Justice came from, and then that's where Walk for Truth came from. So all Walk for Truth and URUC will impact treaty, and they think that either late this year or early next year, the first treaty will be signed, and then I think there'll be steps on from that. But at this moment, it's looking like it's getting to a point where it'll be signed soon. But like you said, I think after the referendum, the opposition, the Liberal Party, declined their support for treaty. So I think you were right about being in a space where people don't want to acknowledge you. Like essentially, a lot of the politicians there don't support treaty necessarily, or the Walk for Truth or the Justice Commission. So I guess it can be a little bit intimidating in that aspect as well, to go into that space where maybe half of the people don't I guess value who you are and see I guess what we bring. So I think it was, in terms of a day, like you said, bit mixed in terms of, but overall really great to celebrate someone doing something really amazing, and bringing majority of the community along with him as well. I guess I just wanted to ask you your thoughts about treaty as a whole and what you think that could mean. And I guess I maybe earlier thoughts about treaty was at NAIDOC marches, like, chanting treaty now in the streets. So what's been your association with what treaty means, or what it could mean to you going forward?
I guess there's so many different layers within treaty, for me anyways, for what I see. Good question. I guess it means so many things to different people. And I guess there's so many things within treaty that I've heard of that can, what's it called? I guess within treaty that can be acknowledged or put into the space. But don't quote me on this, but I think Australia is the only country that hasn't. Is it the only country, or one of the only countries that has not reached a treaty with the traditional owners, First Nations people? So it's wild that it's taken this long. And because, I remember attending these marches as a little kid and screaming out treaty. And for it to, I guess, I'm 25 years old, almost 20 years of our people demanding even longer, way longer, but it finally coming to play. and which is exciting because it is going to be such a great thing for our future generations and our current generations. But it's just, yeah, I guess it was a mixed feelings, never mixed feelings with what our people are doing and all of the advocacy work and I guess all the marches and all the protests that we have shown up for, just asking for treaty and well, a lot of other things. But for it to take this long is pretty wild, considering other countries like Canada, America, have all got treaties in place. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, New Zealand as well
yeah.
is a really good one. Yeah, no, it is wild that I think the last, I guess, one of the last countries that have a treaty with its first people, and that we're doing it seen as progression, but obviously a lot of other countries have done it a long time ago. But yeah, like you've said, it is momentous for here, considering that's been something that we've, advocated for such a long time. I think it's always hard navigating like colonial way of doing things, because treaty means you kind of have to, somewhat participate in the, that kind of Western system, which can be, it obviously puts you on the back foot already. And so I think it's great that it's taken, since 2019, and, that it's been a long process in terms of consulting with community and I think bringing everyone along for the journey on what it could do and what it means and the impact that it will have. And I think the impact won't be felt for, maybe not this generation, but maybe the future generation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't, things like this, it's one thing to draft them and come up with them and sign them, but yeah, the impacts might not be seen, for a while, but I think all good things do take time. And I think, treaty is a step forward, and it's also a step forward for potentially the rest of Australia. And so if, maybe other states and territories see us doing this, then they're more likely to participate in a process like this, or they know it can be done at least. And then, maybe one day, federally we can do one. And I think, that's what I think the referendum failed to do, was to bring everyone along for the journey.
Yeah.
And it was a binary decision, yes or no. Whereas I think what's good about treaty is there's so much more input and there's so much more things you can do to bring all of the community along for it. So I think we're, heading towards a good place, considering where we were, with referendum, how, I guess, kind of dark that time felt. And so it feels like, would you say that there's been more, positivity, like from Rec Week and from us attending that event? Do you reckon there feels like there's more, I guess, happy, like joy in our communities at the moment?
Absolutely. And I think that there's a shift that I'd say this year in the community space for especially in the treaty space, but like going back to the Walk for Truth and being in that room, seeing the traditional owners present those message sticks, and I was scanning the room looking at who was attending, and there was a few opposition leaders that attended that and were watching and applauding the work that has gone on and the work that Yuruk has done. So I thought that was positive, hopefully. So I think that, I guess, there has definitely been a more, obviously there's been a negative shift since the referendum, but I think that the good is definitely outweighing those few there's a big few, but the goods outweighing those few racists and negativity. And I think that's something that we really have to focus on in order to stay sane in this time. And I think that it feels more positive, and it feels more the process feels I'm a bit more trustworthy of this process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, it's been great to see recently. And even on Saturday night as well, Christine Cousins, again, because after that event, she flew up to Darwin
Literally
and then came back on the Saturday. And then me and Cormac were invited to the yacht club for the presentation night for the sailing program, which we have, young people involved in the sailing season. And so, presentation night, and Christine Cousins came to that as well. And also Strong Brother and Bill were lucky enough to receive, I think it was the Community Award. And so, Christine Cousins has been, doing a lot everywhere at all times for community. But it was really great to see her again, and I guess have that, recognition for, the work that she's doing, but also the work that Bill and the sailing program. And that was also just another, like I said, it just seems like there's more positivity adding up, and there's more joy, and there's like a lot of progression happening at the moment as well. Cool. I think we've touched a little bit on a few different things as well. I guess the next kind of event that's coming up is NAIDOC week. I might just throw to you and see, like, growing up, what NAIDOC week meant to you, and maybe how that's changed, and maybe even how the participation has changed in NAIDOC week, with allies and, mainstream orgs getting involved, and I guess, what that kind of celebration looks like.
Yeah. So growing up, I loved all events. But I was quite often, I guess, that token person to lead those spaces in certain, I guess, school or workplace. Not this workplace, but in those spaces, it was quite. It kind of ruined the feeling associated with celebrating NAIDOC week, if that makes sense. But then at the end of the week of, being the token Black girl, you would go on the march and surrounded by allies and your family, your people, and allies, and just immediate mood shift, recharged, feeling like happy, empowered, excited. But for such a long time it was kind of not draining, but having that load put on you to host those space and run the events, and not being able to enjoy it like Rec Week in the past. So I think I've been, as an adult, more excited for these events, and I think that the shift, like we spoke about with Rec Week, is that a lot of is being led, and it's not being pushed on, like you're not getting that load pushed onto you. And I think that's reassuring for the future generations. Like, I look at my nephews and niece, and I hope that they don't feel like they have to get up and say something just because they've been asked to by the school because they're Black. You know what I mean? Like, and I think I can see that playing out better for them. Does that? I think I've rambled a bit, but
no, it makes a lot of sense. I think, like you said, and I think NAIDOC week is good that it is about celebration as well. So, there's not a lot of, regardless of what's happening, usually there's a lot of joy and a lot of, I guess celebration for not only us as community and, everything, but just for, community to be together and be
Yeah.
proud and be, I guess enjoying that week together. And so I
Yeah.
think, it's just a really great time to surround yourself with like mob, and also for mainstream orgs to get down and attend events and just to experience, joy and just see, I guess, the the black joy in the communities. Because I guess, a lot of the themes that we might talk about or that exist can be negative or can, be draining in one way or another.
Yeah.
But I think, having a week that is purely about getting together and showcasing and celebrating, just kind of relieves a lot of weight off everyone. And I think, more recently there's been more people being involved than ever. Like, even if you look at the NAIDOC marches 10 years ago, like, it was you'd mainly know everyone in the march or just know that it was all Aboriginal people. Now you attend and you see so many allies and they're all wearing like Aboriginal merch, whether that's, from black businesses or whatever. And so I think, just seeing how, I think it's also probably two things as well. I think maybe some of mainstream Australia feel more comfortable to participate than they did in the past, because maybe they felt like they were overstepping or they weren't sure whether this event was for them or not. And I think maybe we've done a good job at, I guess, communicating that everyone is welcome, which has always been, but it seems like more recently there's more willingness from mainstream Australia to join in on some of those events or some of those weeks. And we've got a bunch of events that'll happen in Geelong, also Melbourne, Victoria, statewide. Obviously you've got the NAIDOC March, NAIDOC Bowl are probably the two big ones. But then there's a bunch of different events in each community as well. Like if you, I guess, follow the local ACO or ask, there'll be a bunch of events for young people, for older people, and everyone in between. So just a really great time to get involved, get out there, whoever you are, join and be a part of something for that week, which is good. I think we're doing a podcast live stream on NAIDOC week. Do you know about it?
I think I got an email, yes.
Yeah. So it'll be like a panel, which will be good. We're going to do that at Ocean Grind
down in Torquay.
In Torquay. Yeah. So that'll be one event that we'll be going to. But I think it was good just to kind of chat about the past and I guess going a little bit into the future, but just kind of three big things that are happening. It's kind of a lot happens within this kind of 3-month space.
It'd be kind of good to have this all in like summer or something.
It's
a bit
always
warmer.
Yeah, in the colder months.
And it's always in Melbourne. And it's always cold. But it's still.
But it's it's a really great time. I think now that we've, I guess, discussed some of those topics, I really kind of wanted to touch on and maybe hear a little bit more about yourself. Because we haven't had you on the podcast before, and I think maybe just we might go into a little bit of a deep dive into, I guess, you and who you are, and even from when you were a bit younger and home life, or just whatever you want to speak about, and your schooling experiences, just whatever I guess makes you and your journey so far.
Yeah. Cool. I guess so. I was raised by a very staunch single mum. So I guess a lot of like where I am and who I am is truly because of her. She really made sure that me, Cormac and Gemma stayed really connected to our culture and be proud and present, which I'm so grateful for, because she's not Indigenous, that she really made sure that we were still connected in the community. And yeah, so I guess navigating primary school is a bit tricky for me because there's obviously stuff going on at home that I struggled with. Obviously, it kind of felt normal at times. So I think going to my friend's house and seeing what I guess you'd say a typical normal family life was quite confronting for me. But I guess I struggled a lot in my schooling years with, I guess, identity. And I'm prone to having quite a few identity crises. Um, Working with me for 6 years, you've probably seen however many identity crises I've had. But I think in primary school, I was the only Aboriginal woman there. And I didn't know anything different because I was so proud of my culture and my people, and that's really like I'm really thankful for Mum, and especially my mum and Karina would come pick me up for community events and like would go play tennis on the weekends and things like that. Go to the netball carnivals and football carnivals. So I guess thankful for that. Otherwise, I think I would have been like in a worse situation. Just having that cultural connection was really key for me growing up. So yeah, but I guess the reason why I always, I guess, struggled with my identity was surrounded by bullying and racism. And obviously that was normal. That wasn't like a big deal facing racism. Like it obviously is a big deal, but it was normal.
And how would you, I guess, when you would experience that, what would kind of be, what would your way to cope? How would you cope? Is there someone that you would you ever tell teachers? Would you ever tell your siblings? Would you ever, what would you find yourself doing when you experience those things?
I never told my teachers because I guess in that space it was normal. It wasn't something that was ever dealt with in the education space then. I did have a Kezo worker that would come out and teach me weaving and stuff, and I think I'd speak to her a little bit about it. I'd speak to Mum about it, and she would give me some guidance and stuff like that. But I think a lot of the time I was told to not let it bother you, because you know your own truth, you know who you are. But like deep down, I was confused. I was like, like it was kind of like I was lying to myself in that sense. Like, yes, I was really strongly connected to my culture and my people, but I was so heavily like I was so confused because, well, it was like you have the saying like you either too dark to be white or too white to be like black, if that makes sense. So I was like, oh, you don't look Aboriginal, and then you start to question yourself, and especially when you're so young, the slightest look can like at you kind of like makes you feel a bit weird.
Yeah.
But I think because I was connected in those spaces of like, that's why in primary school, I'd look forward to NAIDOC week, going up to the march and being surrounded by people that are experiencing the same thing, which was sad that other people had to experience that and are still experiencing that. But I guess when you come together as a community, all those things, like, you leave it at the door. Like,
Yeah.
that's, you
Yeah.
know?
No, I think, and another, I think important thing you touched on is like, I think being one of the few Aboriginal people at your school is extremely challenging because that's an environment you're in 5 days a week, you know, pretty much all year, 8 hours a day.
Mm.
And so, you spoke a little bit about when you'd go to your friends' houses and you'd feel a little bit confronted. In what ways would you feel confronted, or what do you think the major differences were in terms of how their life was compared to your own?
Well, they had, like, nice houses. They had they had foxtail. Nah. It was mainly, like, oh, it was, like, everything. Like, they had a car, and you'd get picked up in the car, you'd go to their house, and, um, they would be having some form of dinner, like, their mum, dad, and siblings all sit at the dinner table and eat their dinner on expensive plateware, and, like, and just being in, um, just feeling, I guess, it felt, this wasn't for all my friends' homes, but, like, it felt a bit like I didn't belong there, being in, like, a nice area, a nice house, and, you know, bougie stuff. It felt, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it. It just didn't feel,
Yeah,
it felt weird.
yeah.
I
Well,
don't know how to explain it.
it's not. It was so, I guess, you know, it's not familiar to you,
Mm.
and you're entering an environment that is foreign, and there's so many differences in how the living is, or like particular, things that they might take for granted that you're like, oh wow, I can't believe you get to do this, or I can't believe
Yeah,
that happens. Like,
yeah,
I 100% know what you mean in that aspect as well. It is, a foreign feeling, and it makes you feel like an outsider, and like you don't, belong there in a way
mm,
as well. And it's, I think it's something that maybe only as you, grow up and have more responsibility for your own life, that you can kind of be like, oh, I can kind of create my
my
life,
version.
of, what
What?
feels comfortable to me.
Yeah,
But back then, because you're spending so much time with all these people, they're like kind of makes you think that's what you should have in a
yeah,
way. So it kind of makes you think that you're, the weird one, or you're the one that, should have what they have in a way as well.
yeah. And I was never, like, ungrateful for what
Mm.
I had, and that I would never change because mum worked bloody hard to, you know, have a roof over our heads. We got really delicious nutritional meals, and, like, I'd never change that in a heartbeat because I know how hard my mum worked to sustain that life, and we had access to education. I played sports. Like, I had the privilege of experiencing those things, and, um, like, I'd never change any of that. But obviously, like, you go into that space and you're like, well, yeah, this is, like, way different
Yeah.
from my home. Like, not that it's bad. Like, not that my home's
Yeah.
bad. It's
Yeah.
just, like,
It's just
it's
different.
just
Yeah.
different.
So, I guess primary school, I guess you maybe felt, a little bit isolated. What about
Mm.
coming into high school? How was, I guess, high schools when there's a lot more change happening? People like, are going through puberty. There's a lot of hormones. There's a lot of maybe, cliques with how, friendship groups are. How did you find your high school experience, and how did you, navigate it? And also, what are some of you mentioned that you played some like sports. What were some of the sports as well that you were into and played as well?
Yeah, so high school, I went to Clonard, which is an all girls Catholic school. Um, I actually was really lucky. At the time, we had an ATSI group. We were lucky enough to have a really good leader in this space, Megan Evans. She was someone that created a space in extremely uncomfortable. It was, in a school surrounded by really privileged people, but creating a space for the Indigenous girls there to create friendships and really acknowledge our culture in that extremely privileged space. So that's where I met one of my good close friends, and many friends at Clonard. But I struggled with that space because, again, I was surrounded by a lot of privileged people, and my friendship groups, they you chop and change friendship groups growing up. You're like, oh, that doesn't sit right with me, or we have more interests in this. But I think what was really hard was, I don't know, I struggled really with the academic side of things. And obviously there was a lot of pressure to sustain good grades there. But for someone that was navigating life with PTSD and trauma or surrounding home life, or, it was really difficult for me to keep up with all of that. You our school sports, if you got in, because sport, I love sport. Sport was my favorite. And so you go to the second round and you're at Geelong Grammar, it was really weird as well. I didn't feel like that was my space, especially navigating through, hormones, puberty, and, comparing yourself to other girls there that have, they look different to me. They get so much more attention and validation was a massive thing that really affected my high school, because I was I don't know, I'd question if I was pretty enough, or, things like that in high school, because, the girls with blonde hair and all that would get blonde hair, white skin would get so much attention. And so you're obviously comparing yourself to, and then looking at the broader scope of models and things like that. And you're like, oh my God, you didn't feel beautiful. You didn't feel like that space was yours. And so you're just questioning everything about your identity, your physical presence. You're surrounded by wealthy people that can buy so much different stuff and all of the trends. And, I think that's when social media started coming in, where it was, I think, Instagram. And so you were just seeing so many I guess, what's it called? You're seeing so many people that didn't look like you, that were really successful and on the front cover of magazines being the most beautiful, and you're like, oh, look, nothing like that. And then so you're questioning your appearance, and then you're questioning, well, I was questioning, I was like, I'm so stupid. I'm not smart. I'm really struggling with this school. Why is everyone able to pass so well? I can't concentrate. I can't sit down in this classroom and feel like I'm understanding anything my teacher is telling me. I was just questioning everything. I'm like, how stupid am I? I don't understand what you're trying to teach me.
Yeah.
And so I was just questioning everything in that space, and friendships and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I think your story, I think it's really great to share. I think it would be very similar to a lot of Indigenous people, especially at a private school. Yeah, private Catholic all girls school. And when you put that many, I guess, barriers
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense why you didn't, find it the most smooth journey, or why it might have been hard to concentrate at certain times. Um, I guess I wanted to also, I guess even being at like a Catholic school, how did you go at even at that younger age, navigating like, you know, I guess like
Faith.
faith and culture, and like seeing how they connect, and how like, there was a for anyone that doesn't know, ATSI is just an acronym for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. So there was an Aboriginal group essentially,
Yeah.
but at this Catholic school. Obviously, we've got a lot of young Aboriginal people in either Christian or Catholic schools right now. And how did you go? Was there certain things that you had to do that were a part of the faith of the school? And how did you, when you were doing those things, how did you feel, and how did you, manage that?
So I was, I guess, lucky enough to have really good religion teachers that had traveled the world. And so I didn't enjoy it. Um, yeah. So in year 7, you kind of learn how to read the Bible. This is really blurry for me, by
No,
the way. So like I
yeah,
can't really remember much, but yeah, year 7, you kind of learn the Bible. But in that space, you go to like, God, I don't know how many masses in a year you go to, but you go to like mass. And that was it was weird space. It's compulsory. And you sit there for like half a day, either in really cold weather, or like 40-degree weather with your jumper and blazer on, sweating the whole time. I think people like fainted in this mass because it was compulsory to go to things like this, which I mean, it's a Catholic school, it's expected. But it wasn't um it wasn't horrible. I'd say that. But yeah, I guess at that school, in the education space, Aboriginal people, like, you never learnt about Aboriginal, like the history of what happened to our people. But you were learning a lot about what happened elsewhere, like genocides of other countries, which was ironic, I'd say. But yeah, no, it was. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I hated that religious space. I didn't like it, but it was interesting learning about other religions.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that part. But I obviously didn't really connect to that Catholic or Christianity side of things because, it just didn't align with my values or morals. But you never really learnt about as well, like Indigenous culture, which is really, which has a really beautiful story as well to tell. Like, we're learning about like Bible's like massive.
Mm,
You're reading so many, and the paper's so thin. Like, there is so many pages in a
mm,
Bible, and so like it would have been nice to be able to acknowledge, the dream time, and the rainbow serpent stories and things like that. When you're surrounded by people that probably really need to learn and
yeah,
hear these stories, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Because we were learning about like history of every single other country,
yeah.
not our own.
No, yeah, definitely makes sense. And I think obviously a lot of these religions, a lot of them were, colonizing religions in the way that they would, people that like they were brought here by other countries.
Mm.
So yeah, obviously, the last thing they wanted to do was probably tell the truth
Yeah.
on this country, because then it would kind of, you know, shed a light on what they, did and how this country got to where it is today. Just wanted to also go back a little bit. You spoke a bit about, so yeah, I guess the religious stuff and the Catholic, you didn't have the worst time because, like you said, you're learning about other, cultures and people, and it was interesting. But in terms of like, you spoke, I guess, about how representation and like appearance and feeling less than or not having much validation impacted you. I guess, what advice would you have for, I guess, young girls, young Indigenous girls in your position, probably feeling the same sort of way in terms of that I think there's a bit more representation now than there was then, but, when you're in those spaces, it's still very dominated by, non-Indigenous people. And there's a culture that isn't inclusive to the point where, it's going to make you feel really great. So, what would be your advice for, I guess, navigating through those feelings at a school like that, or,
I'd say probably that you're beautiful and be true to yourself and don't change anything to fit in to a certain box, because I think I look back and I feel sad at times looking at how I might have changed something or did something to, I guess, seek out validation, or changed who I was at times to fit into what someone wanted me to be. And that makes me sad, and that looking back at that. And I see it sometimes happening today. Well, I see it happening today. It breaks my heart because it's like these girls are so beautiful. They're so intelligent. They're natural born leaders, and they're going to kick ass in the world. Sorry. But I think that, I guess it's, don't change yourself to fit into a box that will do more harm in the long run. And you'll get to a point where you'll look back and be like, God, I was beautiful. Because you are beautiful and you always have been. But as soon as you change yourself to fit into some criteria that someone else has made for you, you regret it.
Yeah. Usually when you change yourself as well, you're still not accepted anyway.
Yeah, no.
And so it's usually doesn't really have a good result in that aspect.
No.
But I think it was just good to hear what you would say. And I think these, like, we've got a lot more opportunities, and like, even the fact that we get to go into schools ourselves, and for you to personally have that impact on, young Indigenous girls in those schools is something that didn't exist 10 years ago or how many years ago. So there's more opportunity now than ever. There's more representation than there's ever been. And so I think things are slowly moving into a positive direction on that front as well. So that was your experiences, I guess, a little bit at Clonard. And then did you move to another school?
Yeah, I moved to Western Heights after that. I was surrounded by my friends there as well, which was really great. It was a positive change. I started enjoying this space more. I felt like I belonged a bit more. There's still like a little bit of barriers, but overall, like, I was doing much better academically than I was at Clonard. There was a completely different like like I was being taught things like different, like that I learned like a year or two ago.
But what were the things that made you feel belonged, just comparatively to the other schooling experience? Why did you feel like you belonged, or felt more included there?
I don't know how to explain it in a way that, like, it was extremely multicultural, which was really great. And I know teachers didn't really look at you a certain way or expect you to, they didn't have expectations on you, preconceived views on you, which was really, I don't know, I was just a person. I was just a student. That's all I was. I was a student that they were there, like that was there to be taught. Obviously, I missed having that group, the ATSI group. I missed having that, but overall, I was enjoying school because I was surrounded by people that, I guess, they weren't as privileged as someone at Clonard. And I'm not saying that all people at Clonard were privileged. It's just the majority was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's, comparative at different schools.
Yeah.
You're going to attract a certain type of people.
Yeah, well, I was going from private to public at school. So.
And then at a more multicultural school, you're maybe less of someone that stands out and more someone that, kind of fits into the majority a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which, probably made you feel a little bit more comfortable in attending and allowed you to focus more on school as opposed to all the
complexities of what's going on in your life.
Yeah, that navigating all those other things. And so, you found school, I guess, a little bit more enjoyable there, had a little bit more like success, like academically. Were you playing any sports as well?
I played netball.
Yeah.
At Western Heights, I think I did football. It's a little bit of a blur, so I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure I played football and that was really enjoyable for, I think, a year because I moved in year 10, and for a year, my really close family friend was there. She was like another sister, so she really looked after me, and I'd sometimes just hang out with her at times, or I felt really supported. I think it was a good transition once she left. I had already created a really good group of friends in all different areas. Like I'd have friends from my netball club and that went to Western Heights, and then I'd have friends in this class and friends in this class, and I think that, I don't know, I just felt so much more confident being in that school that, I guess it just didn't affect. Obviously, there was still, you're still navigating, being a teenager, and that's still really difficult no matter where you are. But I think because I didn't have that outside noise of, I don't belong here, it helped me sustain really good relationships and be surrounded by good teachers. I had really good teachers there. And some, there was a teacher that taught my dad and that taught Cormac and that taught me, that was still there. He's still there. I found out the other day. So I don't know, it felt like my space. It felt like a space where I belonged in, and they didn't see me as this problem, or they didn't see me as anything but a student that can achieve good things.
Yeah.
And I think I was backed by some really good teachers, and they were like, if I was having a crappy day and I wasn't really giving the subject my all, they would get frustrated because they're like, I can see how good you could be.
Yeah.
So I think that was a nice feeling to have, being backed by your teachers and, them having a, looking up at seeing you in the future kind of thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, it's good to hear, I guess, not only your story, but just in terms of that it's not linear. It's not this experience. It's there's a lot of different change to get to the point where you're, trying to go, and whether that's, changing schools to create that belonging, or, doing what is right for you in those moments as well. I guess looking a little bit post school, coming up to the lead up to, I guess, finishing school or closing out your schooling journey, what was on your mind with what you wanted to do post school, and what did you end up doing? What was that transition like?
Yeah, so I was all over the shop with what I thought I wanted to do. Like one day I'd think I want to be a midwife. One day I'd think I want to be went through a stage where I wanted to be an electrician. I hate small spaces and I hate spiders, and that's all I think electricians have to deal with. But um, I was all over the shop with what I wanted to do. Obviously, um, when I was at you're limited to you feel limited to what you can achieve being an Aboriginal person. You're kind of told that you're going to do, you know, you're either really, really good at sport and you're going to play football, you're either musically talented or, like things like that. And I wasn't any of those. I wasn't really succeeding in. So you were limited to being a worker at the co-op. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So I think 2017 I left school. And that's, I guess, where I started doing my youth work degree. It was online. I did not continue. I finished it because I really struggled with not having that face-to-face contact with this teacher. So yeah, I finished. I didn't complete that, but the timing worked out really well because whilst I was doing the youth work course, I had to get placement. So I did placement at the fort.
Yeah.
Through Cormac. As well when Strong Brother, Strong Sister first started. And then I just didn't leave. And so over over the years, I'm still changing what career I want to do. Like it's never been one thing set in stone. Like I'm all over the shop. Like I went through a stage of wanting to be a marine biologist or wanting to work on what is it? What was it again? I wanted to be an obstetrician. I wanted to be a midwife. And I wanted to, be a marine biologist. But I always come back to wanting to support young Aboriginal women. So, like, through their journeys. And I guess that's why I'm lucky enough to be doing that now. And so, just going off that is strengthening what I'm already doing and looking at, okay, like, I could do this, which is like how you did counseling. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense to be able to support them that little bit further, or a lot further. So right now, I'm hoping to start counselling, my counselling degree, but I've never stuck to one thing that I wanted to do because I could see myself in all those spaces. Like, then I'd have some like identity crisis, change it up, but I wanted to be a chef as well. Yeah, I started my vet course becoming a chef. So like I've never kept the same like vision for my career.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. Like whenever someone's
100%.
like, I don't want what I want to do, I was like, neither do I.
Yeah.
That's normal.
No, I think that message would resonate with so many, especially young people, but everyone in general as well. I think it's amazing if you do know what you want to do and your path is linear, but it's also just as great if it isn't and you've got a lot of ideas and you explore all of them and you figure out what it is you want to do later in life, or you change a lot of times and you have a few different careers or interests. I think it's great to hear from you that that's been your journey so that other people that are experiencing that hear that and go, oh, it's normal to be like that. It's not, because you probably maybe felt at times maybe that, oh, I should be focusing on just one thing, or
because
maybe
everyone
pressure
else
and
was.
expectations that like, oh, I should really, they've stuck with that, or like, there's probably pressure and expectations outside of you, that noise that you might hear that can make you feel a certain way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And like not anyone or anything that someone does is perfect. Like nothing is right in, I guess, someone else's eyes. Like it's truly what you want to do, that I started. At the time, absolutely, I was like, oh my God, just freaking make your mind up, girl. Like, you've got to pick something, which you don't. You don't have to pick something. Like, I think what's really empowering and why I think that I could see myself in so many spaces like that is because I had faith that I would be able to achieve certain things like that at that point. So, um, I think my overall goal of wanting to do so many different things could have even just been wanting to take up as many spaces as I can. But obviously that's not achievable sometimes. But it is. But it also, like, I could not sit and do a medical degree and do that. Like, I just couldn't sit for that long. And, I always, that's like, yeah, from what I always came back to this though, like came back to that that supportive space of supporting the young people's emotional um, well-being.
Yeah.
And that's something that has always been there for me, and has been a part of my personality for such a long time. And I think that's the one thing that I feel most connected to.
Yeah.
But it's, nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
And you're not weird for thinking so many different career choices.
No, yeah, definitely. It's more. Everyone's journey is different, and as long as it works for you and is true to like what you said earlier, who you are, then it is the right decision or the right thing to do. So I think I think it's been great to hear that as like a overall message, because I think that would even resonate with like a lot of the young people that we work with as well, and we get the pleasure of supporting or being a part of their journeys, because they would experience and have similar probably like thoughts about their future in terms of, oh, I don't know what to do or I'm not sure. But I think the more things that you try, then you'll know. Oh, maybe I do want to do this, I don't want to do this. And so you're going to be studying counselling.
Hoping to. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it they just need a few more people?
I think it's a selection process.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed I get in.
You'll get in.
If not, I'll cry.
And so, obviously that will contribute to you being able to, support some of the young women that you work with, I guess, on that more emotional level, and in terms of a little bit more of a personal space as well. I guess what is after that, is that, do you see yourself like counseling more, or is it just to kind of, I guess, have a little bit more understanding and some more tools to use when you're supporting young people?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I look like deep down, like deep into the future when I'm not a young person anymore and not doing youth groups, because I'm not a youth anymore. But like when I'm like later down the track, when I'm able to continue that support for young women in general, of all ages and all walks of life, I think that's something that we'll move on to. Because Strong Brother, Strong Sister is like a youth organisation delivered by young people. And I'll get old one day, and so I need something else. But it's literally, a bit of both. Strengthening my knowledge or learning new things within that space, and then applying that to people that I already work with, and or will hopefully then branching out and having more reach with other people as well. But because I don't know what I don't know what I'm doing in the future, but I know what I want to do, and what impact I want to have on the future generations. Like, I don't know where I'll end up. I don't know what my journey is going to be like. So, but I do know that my passion and my values are going to stay the same, and supporting young women and supporting women, especially Aboriginal women, is something that I will always come back to and always be passionate about.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So yeah.
And yeah, also as a part of just role in community as well, like just to, I think, thank you so much for sharing your whole story, essentially. Obviously it's not always easy to share.
Yeah, ramble a bit too.
No, that's all part of it. I think it's, like I said before, great for especially, there's probably a lot of young women in community that look up to you as like a role model, and thankful for your support and guidance for you to walk along their journeys. So I think for them to, hear a little bit about your journey and how, it's not linear and how things are, can be changing, and it's not as, straightforward as people might think, or different expectations. And so, thank you for sharing. Pleasure to sit down and have this conversation. And I'm sure everyone will probably see a little bit more of you on the podcast as well.
Absolutely.
Which will be good. But I wanted to wrap up there. Thank you all for watching today. If anything that was said in today's conversation brought anything up for you, we do have links down below to some mental health services that will be able to provide support. Also, you can reach out to Strong Brother, Strong Sister as well. So thank you so much for listening to another episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this week's episode.
If you would like to see more of this type of content, like and subscribe.
If you want to support the work that we do at Strong Brother, Strong Sister,
Visit our website and make a donation today.
see ya!